Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by the man who promised me a dozen goals for Valentine's Day. It's Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. I almost delivered.
So what, 3-1 to Real Madrid?
Yeah.
5-0 Liverpool away to Porto. That's a total of 9 goals.
The Rockwell's dozen.
3/4 of a dozen is a Rockwell dozen.
Sure, why not?
Well, happy Valentine's Day to you, buddy.
Right back at you, buddy.
And to everybody out there listening. Shall we move on and talk Champions League?
We shall, but first I wanted to say, it feels like Valentine's Day has had a resurgence. I've never had this many people interested in Valentine's Day as I had today. I went to like 3 different stores at different points, and everybody was like, what'd you do for Valentine's Day? What are you doing? It's like, what? Is that a thing? Are we sure this is a thing?
I'm going to watch some Champions League?
Yeah, that's what I said.
We will both see our wives later.
I got a lot of, what is your wife going to make for dinner? I got 2 of those. That was weird.
That's not how Valentine's Day
No, and
works.
I was like, usually I do the cooking, and they just looked at me like I had 4 heads. So, there you go.
We're just ahead of them, ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk Champions League. First, we'll talk Real Madrid's 3-1 win over PSG at home, right? Real Madrid were the home team. And then we'll go Liverpool's 5-0 away win over Porto, which was a demolition.
Yeah.
That new stadium, I don't know if that new stadium of Porto is going to hold up because it was demolished. Let's talk Real Madrid PSG.
I really hope it's not structurally dependent on Porto not winning in the Champions League, because that would be a problem.
Well, let's hope goalkeeper Jose Sarr was not involved in putting any of it together. All right, let's go Real Madrid first,
Sure.
Taylor. 3-1.
Yep.
It started well for PSG.
It certainly did. I mean, it started, decently enough for PSG. I think we were both uncertain of the lineups because you had semi-experimental lineups with young players coming in for both sides. Gareth Bale not included, nor was Thiago Silva. So you had Kimpembe, is how I think you pronounce that one. And I was kind of surprised with that decision, but it seemed like it worked out, as you said, with Rabiot grabbing the opening goal. But then Real Madrid, and ended up with a 3-1 win.
So do you have a theory of this game, sort of
I do.
why it swung briefly towards PSG and then very much in the Real Madrid direction?
I do. It's basically this. I think Madrid, from the beginning, were very up for it and very much wanted their crowd to be
you
up
could
for
really
it.
feel it. Like we were watching on TV, you could feel the Bernabeu sort of atmosphere.
In
right?
like the first couple minutes, Marcelo forced a corner, and you could see him like trying to get the crowd ready to go. But I do think, especially with Real Madrid, where there are high expectations, that I think if you really raise that level of enthusiasm and don't deliver, it starts to turn into frustration.
Yes.
And I think you could see that.
This happens at Molineux a lot. Like, not quite at Champions League level.
I was gonna say, that's the same.
But it is a thing where there's high expectation, not this season, but high expectation, then it isn't met, and then the crowd kind of turns on the team, or at least you feel the frustration throughout the stadium.
And so I think as the first half went on, you started to see more shooting from distance, a little bit
Looking
more
at you, Cristiano.
direct play. Or was it Varane who had the shot from like 40 yards out that everybody was like, what are you
All
doing?
his teammates turned around and were like,
Yeah.
Raphael, you okay?
Yeah. And so I think Madrid started to get more frustrated. PSG capitalized on that, got the goal. I think what then happened is Unai Emery, when Madrid scored their equalizer, thought, okay, like they got the penalty at the end of the half, let's see this out. We'll make some changes. We'll see this out 1-1 as a great result. And I think he made an error in his substitutions.
Yes.
Zidane went very aggressive with his substitutions. And I think if you look at the time frame, it directly coincides with how Madrid were able to come back.
All right, Taylor, so lay it out for us.
Sure.
What was Unai Emery's error and what did Zinedine Zidane get right? Which,
Sure.
by the way, is interesting because the subtext of this game is one of these men is losing their job.
Yep. And right now it looks like it's going to be Unai Emery.
Yep.
In the 66th minute, he brings off Edson Cavani, brings on Meunier, puts Meunier right back. It looks like pushes Dani Alves into the midfield. So now you've
So he pushes him like to the right wing spot, sort of where Mbappe was.
Yeah.
And then the centre forward becomes either Neymar or Mbappe. They keep switching off one or the other. But I think what you're driving at is essentially they literally took off their number 9.
Yep.
There was no proper target man, which is what Cavani was doing. Great work, great unheralded work in that spot.
That's the key thing, is that he was making so many frustrating runs and really occupying those 2 Madrid center backs. So then Neymar and Mbappe could do some of the things that they wanted to do.
Even the goal, right? Isn't the goal Mbappe dribbles a bit, then he served the goal in the first half, serves it in, and Cavani does the very smart, like, look like you're going for it, but actually leave it. That confuses Nacho, who gets a toe to it, then it lands to Rabiot. So even though Cavani won't even get the assist, because I don't think he touched it, he's heavily involved in that goal. It's a perfect example of what this man can do.
And just to clarify, listeners, we know that it was Neymar who was in there that Stu Holden initially thought had the back heel, but it was Cavani with the dummy that I think, to your point, threw off Nacho a little bit, which is why he's not able to win that ball cleanly and instead only gets like a barely of a toe to it. So you take Cavani off, now you have Neymar and Mbappe, who I would say were a little bit wasteful. I wasn't really of that mindset. You definitely were. You swayed me to that argument.
I launched a PR campaign here in the studio.
Did. An anti-PR campaign?
It was a Cavani campaign.
I mean, but it kind of was accurate because as the second half goes on, after Cavani leaves, it's still Neymar doing step-overs and trying to do scoot passes. And I think the thing that convinced me was that we went back and watched in chunks, and it really was most of the time that Neymar got the ball, he gave it away or he got tackled. Some of them were very physical.
Madrid tackled hard but did not always foul, which I think was very, very clever. Yeah.
And meanwhile, so Cavani goes off in the 66th. That's the last substitution PSG make until the 84th, when they're now they're down.
When Unai Emery threw the Draxler dice to see what happened.
Pretty much is what happened there. Meanwhile, 68th to 79th minute, 11-minute period, Madrid make all 3 substitutions. Gareth Bale, Lucas Vazquez, Asensio come on.
All involved.
And I think he really went for it. He went aggressive. He recognized that PSG's big distracting threat up top is no longer there. Neymar and Mbappe are kind of doing their thing, so we can just stand them up and then we can launch attacks forward and cause problems, and that's exactly what they did.
So in the 83rd minute, Ronaldo gets what's the winner. There's another goal on top of it. Makes it 2-1. Ronaldo hasn't had a great game before this. He scored the penalty at the end of the first half, which was obviously successful, especially with the ball popping up.
And so we spotted that, and it looks like it's because maybe the turf was just relayed or the sod was just put down. And the people on TV weren't quite sure. My guess is that it's basically the force of his plant foot moves the sod and makes that little divot occur. Or no, I guess the opposite of a divot. It pops up the ground. That's why the ball moves up in the air. But it's
not the real opposite.
It's not, but it was close. But you also spotted that there was a close-up of Ronaldo's face, and he's getting the laser pointer treatment.
He is. He's getting the green laser flashed in his eyes. If you remember, you might see the moment where he closes his eyes and breathes in, and you would think that maybe that was nerves or whatever, but I think he's just, no more laser in my eyeballs.
It's interesting because you
need my retinas for the penalties.
You see him realize that he's got a laser pointer in his face, and he looks up and does a mini protest, and I think this is where you got to kind of recognize that Cristiano Ronaldo is an amazing soccer player, that he starts to get agitated and then I think closes the eyes and you see him do the deep breath. And I think that's him being like, nope, this is what they're trying to do. I'm not going to lose focus.
Because if you're a smart competitor like Ronaldo, you know the ref can't stop. You're not going to ask the ref to go into the crowd, find the laser pointer guy and get him out in time for me to take this kick. So the best you can do is just center yourself and then bang that penalty kick home.
I mean, the best revenge is to score.
Yes.
If you listeners didn't see this game and you're confused, in the first half, Madrid were attacking the end where the PSG fans were sitting.
Yes.
That's why there was the laser pointer.
It wasn't a rogue Real Madrid
fan. It was not. It was a Gareth Bale fan. Get him off the field. No. So I think that's a credit to Ronaldo, that penalty. But then obviously the go-ahead goal, again, it seems like, he was just right place, right time. He knees it in off of a deflected cross. But I think if you want to phrase it that way, it does an injustice to the beauty of Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, I think the thing is mostly about his toes, right? If you watch him in this whole sequence, the man is up on his toes. It's really weirdly easy to spot because he's got those orange cleats on. Yeah. He's bouncing around on his toes and constantly moving, constantly looking for the best spot to be in.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is that, yes, he gets some tap-ins here and suddenly he's wide open at the back post for no reason. That's bad marking. Is it? Is it luck? Or is
no, because no one forgets to mark Cristiano Ronaldo.
No. When a thing happens, we've talked about this many times on the show, when a thing happens consistently throughout games or throughout a season, you have to see it as a trend and not an outlier and not it's just lucky. And I think it is. He's always moving. He's always adjusting. He's never letting any defender get too close to him. He doesn't just crash the near post when it looks like that ball is coming up. He holds that run, then crashes, and he's in the exact right position at the exact right moment.
All of this will be explained in Malcolm Gladwell's next book, Toes.
I mean, you never know. You never know what he's up to.
If it is, but then we're going to come after him. So Ronaldo scores, obviously, but we talked about how it was Zidane's subs that were so important. So how is Gareth Bale and Marco Asensio, Gareth Bale and Marco Asensio involved in this goal?
Sure. So
I know the answer. I just want to hear you describe it because it was beautiful.
It really was. It's a throw-in from Madrid. I think Marcelo has earned the throw-in. He throws it in to Gareth Bale, who, as we said, is subbed in. He's basically making that check away, check two run. He makes a good 20-yard run.
You love that, don't you?
I do. It's very good. It creates space. We should teach it more often. But it's impressive because he's running at full speed towards his own goal, basically. He settles with his left foot and then sees Asensio creeping down the sideline and basically plays a reverse ball back across into the path of Asensio, but who is now wide open with no one in front of him.
Sprinted beyond Meunier.
Yeah. But also because it's a world-class ball. And I think if you're just not expecting that, if you don't think that a player can pull that off, it's not a thing that you're going to be prepared for. So I think PSG are thinking, oh, he's going to drop it back. We can press up a little bit more. We can be a little bit, oh, it's over my head. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
And I think, unless I've got my goals confused, when Asensio eventually plays the cross in that Ronaldo scores from, Bale has gone and joined him, but is looking kind of useless because he's like overlapped when there's only 1 yard of space before the end.
Yeah, that wasn't very good.
So you could watch that and be like, oh, what is Bale doing? But if you go back, 5-10 seconds, you see that magnificent reverse pass from Gareth Bale.
I'm sure Florentino Perez will focus on one of those two things. But I think Asensio doesn't get the credit for the assist. I think it's an unassisted goal because of all the chaos, and it gets deflected, and then it pops out to Ronaldo. But it's still the hard work of Asensio to put that ball in. He definitely gets the assist for Marcelo's goal, the third goal.
Yes, okay. So it's a nice cross, but this goal, for me, is all about Marcelo.
Okay.
It's all about Marcelo's finish. And the last 10 minutes of this game were kind of all about Marcelo. Because wasn't it not long before he scores this third goal, it's Marcelo versus Mbappe, and just a huge reminder of, Mbappe's got this great big price tag.
That's right.
But look how smart and great Marcelo is.
Mbappe has a move that I've seen him do a couple of times, and it's essentially he does like instep outside of the foot really quickly, and then as he does the outside of the foot with the same foot, he does like a step over scissor sort of thing, and then takes the ball the other way. And it is very fast, and it's so many changes of direction that it's really easy to be like off center when you're the defender and lose track of your man. Marcelo just waits and then just poke. Nope, ball's mine.
And then I think 10 seconds later, doesn't he win a free kick, Marcelo? And then Mbappe stands over it to try and kill time a little bit. So Marcelo just makes a point of blasting it off of him, getting Mbappe a yellow card.
I think Mbappe doesn't get the yellow, but the ref is like, look, you shouldn't have been there, but Marcelo, you know what you were doing. No more of that, back off. But yes, the goal comes from that sequence.
It's just a reminder of why a high-quality left-back is probably more useful. An experienced high-quality left-back is more useful than a skillful 100 million euro plus winger.
Yeah. Not bad. And especially because Marcelo, we thought, was going to be subbed out in the first half. You could hear him. He had a collision with Dani Alves. It looked like he hurt his wrist. You could hear him screaming. The mics were picking that up.
Yes.
So we thought, or I thought at least, he was going to be subbed off. Instead, pivotal in this comeback.
Yeah. So his goal, which we started talking about a couple of minutes ago, that underlapping run, I'm starting to think of as classic Marcelo.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He just plays it out wide, but eventually gets inside, and then he's there to finish.
Yeah, to that point, I enjoyed that we were trying to figure out some of the tactics of this game, and you're like, "Ooh, look, Marcelo's coming inside, and he's in more central position." And then you pause, and you're like, "No, that's just Marcelo doing what he always does. Never mind, that's not a shift. That's just him doing what he does."
Anything else on this game, or does it finish 3-1 and we say that's that?
I do have one more thing to say other than that I think it was a really impressive fight back from Madrid. Actually, I have two things. One, with that fight back, is that this is another one of those games where if you have time, listeners, if you're looking for something to do, it would be interesting to rewatch parts of it as we did, because there are things that when we watched it live and it felt like, oh, Madrid are frustrated, this isn't going to go their way. Look at Neymar dancing on the ball. Look at Mbappe doing silly moves, or like great moves. It's amazing. And it felt like, oh, this is going PSG's way. And to know how it ends, to go back and watch that, you can see like, oh no, they're being really wasteful and Madrid are setting up to counterattack perfectly on them, and that's exactly what they do.
The perfect example for me was going back to the Neymar ending up in Cavani's spot thing, is watching PSG cross to Neymar at the far post when he's up against centre-backs. And Nacho, Ramos, they're just Varane, they're happily just heading it away because Neymar's not really a threat in the air. And the same way in terms of holding up the ball, right? Even though he's got some skills, he's not great at being a hold-up guy in the way that Cavani is. And maybe that's the mistake, is that Neymar is too highly thought of at PSG, so they kind of just think, get the ball to him, he'll make something happen. But you're not playing Nantes or Nice every week, right? You're playing Real Madrid this week.
You are.
You can't just give the ball to Neymar and something will happen.
No, and especially because they've been preparing for this game, both sides have. It just felt like there should have been other ideas out there other than take Cavani off, give the ball to Neymar, make something happen. Yep. Give the ball to Mbappe, let him dance.
Agreed.
With that, I wanted to say my final point on this one I saw pointed out on Reddit, that PSG have this reputation of spending tons of money. They're combining their starting goalkeeper, defenders, and their midfield. They spent $70 million on those 8 players. The difference would be that front 3, they spent 422 million euros on.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they took off the guy they spent the least on.
So 6 times what they spent on their goalkeeper, defensive midfield is what they spent on those front 3.
One could maybe say that one could tell.
One could, Daryl.
All right, before we move on to Liverpool-Porto. Excuse me, Porto-Liverpool.
Yeah.
Although Liverpool may now own Porto Stadium.
I think they do. Legally, yeah.
Today's show is sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is the platform if you want to build a website. We think maybe Mr. Unai Emery may have to put together a resume website in the near future.
I mean, we know that the brochure approach didn't really work for Michael Owen, although he did end up signing for Manchester United that season. So maybe it did kind of work. Yeah. But maybe like an interactive website that shows maybe when Sevilla were doing big things, when Unai was there. Maybe, some things from Ligue 1, maybe. But I think he could use that, add some clips, add some images. Suddenly, things look real polished.
Maybe he'll get to put together the highlights of the second leg comeback.
That is possible.
When Real Madrid visits PSG. They do have an away goal, right? So, what, PSG 2-0 win?
Yep.
That would do it.
It would.
It doesn't feel likely, but that would do it.
I mean, it's not as though Madrid's defense looked particularly stable today. They were without Carvajal, who was suspended for intentionally getting a yellow card. That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's definitely options. So maybe it will be Zidane needing Squarespace to do his website. Either way, I think someone's going to be seeking employment.
So if either of those gentlemen ends up using Squarespace to put together their resume website, or if you'd like to put together, especially if you're a writer, so you put together sort of a portfolio of your work, a photographer, it's really good to put together your photography work into a big portfolio for people to see. Go to squarespace.com. You can get a free trial where you put the website together, and then when you're ready to launch, use the offer code TSS to save 10% off your first purchase.
There we go. So Zidane, Unai Emery, whoever needs it, it's all yours. On to Liverpool 5.
They both listen every week.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. On to Liverpool 5, Porto 0, or Porto 0, Liverpool 5.
This must be rough viewing for Porto fans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That said, I think when Jurgen Klopp saw the forecast for this game, he must have just rubbed his hands together. Because I think...
Oh, you mean the weather forecast?
Yeah. If you are a team who is all about like high-intensity pressure and like forcing other teams to make mistakes, a downpour will definitely facilitate that game plan.
Certainly, yeah. So you could see the rain lashing down, but you could also see every time Jose Sa tried to clear a ball, he got himself in trouble. This is the Porto goalkeeper.
Checking to see he's Portuguese. Jose Sa is what I'm going to say.
Jose Sa, excuse me. Whether he was kicking or throwing, everything seemed to fall short. I saw him do one of those like sidewinder kicks.
Yep.
Where it's supposed to go like fast and hard down the middle. It didn't reach the halfway line, right? It was picked off by Jordan Henderson at the edge of the centre circle in Porto's half.
I think it's because you're right. He tried to do like the sidewinder pump, but I think he misses it and hits it with the outside of his foot. So that's why it has that weird spin and goes straight up in the air. But it also feels like Liverpool had watched some footage and thought his distribution is not great. Let's remember that, because every time he was throwing the ball, you had either Dejan Lovren or Virgil van Dijk or Jordan Henderson sometimes being very aggressive in dropping back but then stepping to meet that ball. So it wasn't just waiting for the ball to come. It was moving to it and intercepting and causing lots of problems. Same thing for his distribution off of punts.
Well, this is exactly what happens on the first goal. Is Jose Sa tries to throw the ball out left. Dejan Lovren, centre-back, steps, he's well into Porto's half, right? Steps up, wins the ball, and Liverpool are back on it straight away. This ball ends up in the back of the net from Sadio Mane.
Yes, and I think you wanted to give Wijnaldum the credit for like the layoff for the goal, but in reality I think he's frantically trying to control it, overhits it a little bit, and Sadio Mane says, I got this, buddy.
He does
I got
get this.
And this also seems like a bit of a howler from Jose Sa on first viewing, because it's not like the easiest of angles, but it's not the most difficult of angles from Sadio Mane. But he hits it low, he hits it with the instep. It goes to Jose Sa, who falls down, and it basically goes underneath his ribs and into the goal. You spotted this one, so I will let you explain what maybe was the problem.
I think Sadio Mane unintentionally pulls off a mid-air nutmeg on a Porto defender. I believe it's Diego Reyes.
You are correct.
Mexican defender. Does like whatever he can do in the moment, which is to sort of throw his legs in front of the Mane shot, and weirdly gets it right in that his legs get in front of the shot. But there's a gap. His legs aren't joined together. There's a gap in the middle. It goes through his legs in mid-air. The two of them, Mane and Reyes, could not do that again together if they had like 100 tries, I don't think.
Nope.
Maybe they could. They're both very good at soccer.
And if you're wondering...
That's enough to put the keeper off, right?
Especially because the expectation there is if you've got a player like flying in with legs outstretched, there's usually going to be a deflection.
Yeah.
And so I think if
or
you're
just a block, right? You might straight up get blocked.
Yeah, but if you're Sa, what I'm saying is that if you're starting to go down because you know that shot's coming in, it's coming in low, but suddenly that defender's coming in, it might give you a quarter second or a half second thought of, it might be deflected, I should stay on my feet, and then he drops down. But that quarter or a half second is enough for him to drop down too late. Ball's in the back of the net. 1-0 Liverpool, soon to be 5.
So we'll give him a pass on the first one.
Kind of.
Not for the throw, but for the save.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. All right, so 4 minutes later, ball's in the back of the net again. It's a bit of James Milner magic. He kind of takes this ball down.
I love that you're going to put this on James Milner and not the man who scores it, but sure, go ahead.
James Milner majestically takes this ball down. Really, doesn't he drop a shoulder and then dribble at the Porto defence and then bends a shot? I really thought...
Daryl's English, by the way, folks. Daryl is English.
I really thought, Milner's having his moment. Do you know what I mean?
Daryl is not Egyptian.
Hits the bar, comes back to Mo Salah, and we've got to praise Mo Salah here because he essentially freestyle juggles with massive composure on the line, but none of it is showing off, right? All of it is getting the ball under control and making sure that he can make sure he finishes this.
We think
there's no element of showing off here.
No, I think we've talked about this before as well. It's when you have a goal scorer who has reached that level of confidence. There was not one little tiny even semblance of panic about Mo Salah with this sequence. It's just sort of juggle, take your time. Okay, I'm going to wait.
Yep.
I'm going to put it in. He's not panicking. He has full confidence in himself to be able to figure out how to put this one in the back of the net. But it is a little Matrix-y in that he's kind of looking around and seeing everybody flying around and being like, no, we'll just wait. I'm going to touch it this way. I'm going to make sure I juggle it one more time on my head.
You think he was watching it all in slow motion?
It felt that way.
Seeing the code. He could see the green code coming down.
I mean, that's how it appears to be. And I think it was either Jamie Carragher or Steven Gerrard doing the analysis that was saying basically that if that were Leo Messi, we would all be losing our minds right now. I'm losing my mind right now. I thought that was an amazing goal.
Oh, so since you mentioned that, so they score again in the 53rd minute. I think this is the one that's a great sort of breakaway goal, right? But part of it involves a great Firmino sort of weird back heel type thing. They're doing their telepathy thing, right? Salah and Firmino. And then as Salah is dribbling, I kind of had this messy moment. I think it's partly because he's got those long sleeves that with a thumb hold, so you hook it around.
Yep.
So he kind of has that same messy I don't know, look about him because of the weird sleeve thing. But then the way he confidently dribbles and plays that ball through a little gap straight in front of Roberto Firmino, this whole thing was perfect. And I think there's something very perfect about the fact that Firmino's shot is saved and Sadio Mane is kind of there to just clean up, finish it. He ends up with a hat-trick. We definitely are in a situation where Firmino and Salah are the telepathy pair, and Mane is he's not quite, he doesn't quite drift in the Pacific Rim kind of way, but he's definitely there to help out and finish things off.
I remember, as a player, as a coach, one of the hardest things to get young players to do is frame the goal, because you always just watch the shot and you're excited to see if it goes in, and then suddenly it spills loose. Liverpool obviously do not have that problem. I feel like they must have a drill that's all about anticipating everything, and you're just put into crazy situations and you have to adapt, because they are never not trying to charge the goal. They're never not crashing. They're always working to try to put themselves in a position to score and never just kind of sitting there ball watching, at least on attack.
It just occurred to me that Mane sort of cleans up here when Firmino can't quite get the job done.
Yep.
When Wijnaldum dribbles into someone and the ball pops loose, Mane is there. So I feel like Mane is he's essentially the finisher. If everything else Liverpool doesn't work out, Mane is just don't worry guys, I got this. And I'll take care of business.
And for the fifth goal, when Danny Ings subs in and is I'm Danny Ings, here you go Sadio, you finish this one. Because that's pretty much what happens there.
So we don't need to analyse the final two goals, right? Danny Ings, it's great that Danny Ings gets an assist. Off the bench, gets an assist, sets up Mane for probably the goal of the evening in terms of the quality of the strike.
Yeah, probably.
Is that fair? Although the passing goal was the goal of the evening in terms of the quality of the break. The one in between, the fourth goal, is a nice James Milner cutback to Roberto Firmino. Excuse me, James Milner.
Thank you.
To Roberto Firmino. It was a South American pairing.
Is that World Cup 2014? Is that where that came from?
It's a 4-year callback.
Oh, boy.
Really nice fourth goal as well. All these goals are worth watching.
Yep.
Go see it, even if you're not a Liverpool fan.
Meh.
But this is another one, just like Man City, Basel.
Yeah.
Second leg is over, right? They probably shouldn't even play it.
I'm sure Porto might be okay with that. Liverpool players would probably not be, especially Liverpool academy players and youngsters who haven't been getting many minutes or haven't yet seen the Champions League.
Ben Woodburn could get a run out maybe in this second leg.
Brooks Lennon might be able to, and I don't think he's even employed by Liverpool anymore. That's how done and dusted this one is.
We'll watch for a Phil Foden Man City reason, right?
Sure. Yeah. I got real confused there for a minute. I was like, what now?
You know what I'm saying?
Temporary loan. But it is also interesting given some of the quote-unquote crises of recent years that you have two of the three English sides that have already played likely, very, very, very likely to advance. Tottenham put themselves in a very good position yesterday.
They got 2-way
so
goals.
Suddenly you're in a decent spot, except if you're one of the two remaining English clubs. Now maybe the pressure is on, and I, as a Man United fan, don't love that.
So next week it's Chelsea-Barcelona. I'm actually not sure who's at home, but Chelsea are playing Barcelona, and Manchester United are playing Sevilla. Oh, that's a good game too. So we'll be back next week. We'll be back tomorrow as well, but we'll be back next week to talk more Champions League.
We will.
Final thing on today's show,
yes, sir.
Taylor. We got some scouting network.
Yep.
Oh, I thought we were going to do it together.
We kind of did,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Up first is Patrick Keeler, scouting Anthony Robinson, the 20-year-old American, not English, American, left back / left wing back on loan at Bolton from Everton. He's a dual national. Bolton played 2 matches in the past 4 days, and Jedi, which is his nickname, went 90 in each as a left wing back in a 3-back system. The first game was very symmetrical. This seems to be the case with him, in that Anthony was outdueled for a headed assist, but then came back with a headed assist of his own to level the game. The second game did not feature Jedi doing anything wrong defensively, but Bolton had 0 offense and the whole team seemed tired, so again, it balances out. Bolton has a very thin squad and the fixture congestion might be getting to them.
So Jedi, once again, is Anthony Robinson, who is American-English / English-American left back. He's a guy that we could see in that March 27th friendly. The US is playing, we haven't announced this on the show, I'm hoping people have seen it elsewhere. The US is playing Paraguay, Cary, North Carolina, March 27th. That's a game that we could call Anthony Robinson up for.
I would be fine with that. I would have no problem with that.
Call up Anthony Robinson for.
Fine.
Try not to misplace any of my words.
I think you still ended on a preposition, though. Not sure if that's allowed.
All right, well, let's move on then. Alan,
for to call up Anthony Robinson, yes?
That's it, exactly.
Yeah.
Alan Bedford is scouting Jonathan Lewis, the 20-year-old American attacker for NYCFC. Jonathan Lewis travelled to Mexico for a preseason friendly against Liga MX side Atlético San Luis, says Alan. Someone didn't get the message about the friendly, though, as the MLS outfit was on the wrong end of a 3-0 scoreline. I mean, you're still supposed to win the game, right?
Yeah.
Lewis came in for midfielder Maxi Morales in the 63rd, just in time to be on the pitch when Atletico's third and final goal was scored. I'm really hopeful that Lewis can get good minutes for NYCFC this year.
So is he. So is Alan, I would imagine. Calvin Derleth, scouting Kennedy, the 21-year-old Brazilian left back on loan at Newcastle from Chelsea.
Ooh, this was a January... never mind.
The tradition continues. Since being loaned to Newcastle in January, Kennedy has started as a winger in 3 straight games, earning 2 assists in that time. That's not bad, given that he played fewer than 2 hours in 2 seasons with Chelsea. That's total. Kennedy has already added some much-needed bite to Newcastle's offense and stated that playing for Rafa Benitez was a big draw for him when deciding where to play this season.
He saw what he did for DeAndre Yedlin and thought, I want some of that. I'm only half joking.
That's fair. I'm also wondering how long Kennedy has been with Chelsea, because I wonder if he was there long enough to have worked with Rafa Benitez when he was at Chelsea. I'm guessing not, but you never know.
No.
I think he would have been like 14, so yeah, probably not.
John Adams, not that one, is scouting Cheyenne Harrison, the 20-year-old English striker for Tottenham. John says that Cheyenne Harrison made his League One debut this weekend, coming on for the final 5 minutes of Southend United's 3-1 win against Wigan Athletic at Roots Hall. That's Southend's home ground. It seems like Harrison did well in his brief cameo and nearly scored with a nice shot from about 20 yards out that just went wide. You don't get any goals for nearly shots.
You do not. You do not. Steve Renard scouting Yuri Tielemans, the 20-year-old Belgian midfielder for AS Monaco. Hello, Yuri. Yuri Tielemans had a good but quiet match in Monaco's 4-0 demolition of Angers. I'm going to say that's how you pronounce it, because why not? He had the assist for the 4th goal, making a smart run forward while tracking the offside line, then using a fantastic first touch to set himself up to make an inch-perfect pass for the assist. To be fair, the Angers defense seemed to have utterly switched off at the point, but the touch and pass by young Monsieur Tielemans was still very excellent.
I'm a big fan of young Monsieur Tielemans. I've got to say, your pronunciation angers me. John Roda is scouting Jakob Brun Larsen, the 19-year-old Danish winger on loan at VfB Stuttgart from Dortmund.
You shouldn't feel good about that.
Jakob Brun Larsen. Since moving to Stuttgart on loan in January, Brun Larsen hasn't been having a great time. He's been listening to my jokes. On January 27th, he started in Stuttgart's match against Schalke, but conceded a penalty in the 18th minute. While trying to clear a corner, he instead kicked an opponent in the ribs. You're not supposed to do that. Stuttgart then fired their manager. It sounds like they fired the manager immediately after that. And appointed Tayfun Korkut on January 29th, and Brun Larsen hasn't seen the field since.
I'm not sure if those two things relate, but they might.
I like to pretend they're a straight narrative.
That works.
Yeah.
Mark Ryan, the board interviewed Typhoon Korkut. They're like, are you going to play him? Are you going to let him kick people in the ribs? You're hired. Mark Ryan scouting Giovanni Simeone, the 22-year-old Argentine forward for Fiorentina. In his second season...
Son of Diego.
I've heard of him.
Yeah.
In his second season with Fiorentina's senior team, at least, Simeone has 7 goals, 4 assists, is currently the club's leading scorer, and seems to be the focal point of the team's attack. From what Mark has seen, Gio is quick, times his runs well, and is better in the air than his build might suggest, but needs more experience to become a more efficient and consistent goal threat.
Kristen Mladinha is scouting Briel Embolo, the 21-year-old Swiss forward for Schalke. Kirsten says, it is my delight to report that Briel Embolo has done a good thing. Finally. Kirsten's been very patient.
That's what you want to hear.
After not getting any minutes in Schalke's matches the last couple of weeks, Embolo started against Bayern Munich. In the 29th minute, he provided the cross that led to Franco de Santos' equaliser. The traitor, a.k.a. Leon Goretzka, technically gets credit for the assist, as his acrobatic attempt to scissor kick Embolo's cross into the net saw the ball drop to De Santos' feet, but it was a great cross to start everything off.
Alrighty, so thank you to Kirsten, Mark, John, Steve, John, Calvin, Alan, and Patrick for those reports.
You went reverse chronological.
Hey man,
I like it.
I do what I do.
If you have joined the Scouting Network recently, I have 7 people who've emailed me in the last day to say, hey, please send me my scout. I put it out on Twitter, let me know if you're waiting for your scout. If you want to be added to that list of me rushing your scouting assignment to you, email me, Daryl@TotalSoccerShow.com, DARYL, TotalSoccerShow.com. Let me know that you are waiting. I will get your scout to you within the next couple of days. I promise.
Ooh. When Daryl promises, he keeps his promises.
Yeah, always eventually. This week.
So that means you're going to assign all of them by Friday at 5. Gotcha.
All the people that email me.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Definitely.
There we go.
All right. Hey, Taylor Rockwell, thank you. Saying goodbye before you say anything else that you promised me to. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
I couldn't think of anything else. Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow to answer some listener questions.